Okay, so we are through week 1, and you are ready for your first official full week in this class, which means it's more work. Now, some of you last night, sorry, I graded every day. Hopefully, you saw that. Some of you, as I would suspect, were waiting until towards the due date. And here's why this is a challenge is that based on the amount of work, it can definitely be more challenging to work right at that due date. So, give yourself a little time. One thing I know for me, because I have due dates I have to complete as well for my own type of work, is I try to work a bit on it each day rather than to have to dump all that time. And what that gives me is that feeling of that I'm accomplishing something. I'm not just putting it off. Because what I find for me is that when I put things off, I'm procrastinating, but more importantly, it's taking up some of my peace of mind. And to me, it's not worth it. So, suggestion for you. So, welcome to week 2. I want to go over just some of the things that I saw last night and give you a preview for this week. So, one of the things is that I noticed there was definitely a group of students who did not submit the My IT lab. So, do know, sorry, my throat's a little flecked this morning. Do know that if you submit the work in my IT lab, that's a great start. The final step is that you do have to create those two PDFs. And by the way, I show you on that item how to complete that, how to create those, and how to submit them into Canvas. Now, here's the good news. If you did the work in my IT lab, but just didn't do that last step, I'll still take the work as on time. Okay. You have to do it by Monday, though, which is probably when you may start watching this video. But I did leave a message. Now, that's the other thing is when I grade items, I do leave messages in your grades. So go check those out. You can also communicate with me that way. If there's something that I've said that you want to know more about, or you want to clarify, or just a reply, that's a fine way to do it. You can also do it through Canvas. Discord, which I notice a handful of you have joined. I hope more of you do. Again, check out the link in week 1 for the invite link to that. That is really meant for student to student or, you know, really student to student. Everybody speaks and they hear it at the same time, and here in this case, right, is writing. So the idea is not to communicate with me directly over there. The idea is for you to communicate with each other, and I may be in that group. But if you want to chat with me directly, office hours is a great option, communicating through Canvas or on your grade items. Okay. All right. Last thing I'll say, and then we'll move over and take a look, is that the we are doing my IT lab, which is simulation of Word. Okay, so you're going to do this week, and I say this is Word because you just finished Windows. You're going to do Word, the first one and the second one. And then we do a third one, a fourth one, and then you have the actual Word exam. So by the time we get there, which is not that far away, you'll need to have Word loaded on your system. For you Mac users, there's an Office for Macs. You can use Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. It's when we get to Access, you Mac users, which I happen to be included in, you're going to need to have done that whole system. Now, for installing Mac on a Mac, which means really you install Windows on top of your Mac. I'm not going to get into it now because there's a video for that. Okay, so I just want you to know what we're doing with my IT lab right now is simulation. And we will move to the actual non simulation, actual Word where you do a lab test that we'll talk about as we get there after 4 of the My IT Lab chapters. Okay, now let's move over and take a look. One of the things I did this morning is I actually went in as a student. I'm actually viewing it right now as a student. Okay, so what you can do and what you've already seen is that you have to complete items in sequence. Okay. So in this case, I'm just now recording this chapter, this video, because I do it afterwards. And I just want to, and I didn't mention this, so let me mention this now, If you submit things after the due date, now when is the due date? The due dates are set at midnight. If I see the work when I get up the following morning after a due date, I will grade it. It's from that point after it's late. And you can submit it, it's 25% off. Okay. So just know that this is true. Like if and some of you are working right at the due date or at the, you think it at midnight, after midnight, it's late. And the truth is, and I don't really generally say this except in these kind of videos, it's when I wake up the next morning because let me just come back to you. I believe if you're submitting it the point that I graded, it's late, right? So I want to hold myself as responsible as I hold you. Okay, I've already talked about this, submitting the PDFs. You need two PDFs, one for the training, one for the exam. You do need to do the calculation to get full points. I did give you a note if you missed that part. I gave you some of you until Monday to correct it for full points, so make sure you check that out. And this is what I was just talking about with the actual program that we will not need until later. Okay, so that's let's go back here just so I can give you kind of an overview of this week. And you can see this. So now that once you hit reply, these again are in sequence. Some of these are viewing. This is we're going to understand parts of the computer, self-driving cars, which is something I've had experience with, which I absolutely amazingly had a great time doing when the car actually drove itself. I've had an EV for about a year now, and I really have enjoyed it. But it is a trip when the computer drives the car and all that goes into that. So, if you want to talk more about that, come see me during office hours. So you can see here I've broken it down by Monday. Monday's graded item, so looks similar to what we had in week one. You have a chapter quiz and the word chapter one, and then on Thursday, because remember each day is a week in a regular class. Okay, so then on Thursday, um, web resources talking about net neutrality. This is a little bit dated, but still really good content. You view these and then you have a post about this. Remember also on these discussions, like if I come back up to this discussion here, you do have to do the replies in order. So this is just talking about it. This is the actual work. So one, and actually, I think I'm going to change this to week because I ended up not replying until after the due date. As I see you do the complete work, I will grade things. Okay. And I mean here, because these on the chapter quizzes, I don't necessarily have to grade, you just submit them. But on the word, I do as well. But I've waited on the discussions and I will change that this week. And as I see you complete both the post and the replies, I will do that. Okay, so that's the work we have this week. Net neutrality, chapter 2 for Thursday, chapter 3 for Thursday, chapter 2 for the word. And then what I will do after I finish this and post the video is I will open up week 3. Okay. Now, at this point, most of you are not going to get through week 2 to look at week 3 until that starts. But I do this as an encouragement because it gives you the opportunity to work ahead. And at this point, I understand that this workload based on a 9-week class is heavy. Again, I've given you suggestions about how to, um, strategize what works for you. I know what works for me. I've seen what works for many students. The students that work ahead in the timeline typically do a little better, not a little better, a lot better. So lean into that concept, right? I hope that at least is a suggestion you'll consider. Okay, I think I've covered everything I want to. I'm sure after I do this, I'll get a question that I'll think, oh, I wish I could have covered that. So consider joining Discord. Remember, the tutor, one of the tutors for CIT15 is actually on the Discord server. Remember that you're asking everyone in the class questions. Don't just target them to me. That doesn't make sense, right? Because if you do that, other students will think, well, I'm going to wait for Rio to answer that. And if I'm around, I will. And this is what I want to leave you with. Actually, this is the part I want you to reply to. And I will know if you watch it to the end by if you got the question, right? Do you know that when you work and that when I work is different? I'm an early morning person. This is like 8 in the morning. I've been up since about 5. I've done all the grading for both of my classes. I'm doing video now. I am an early morning person. I like to work in the morning, which is great. You may like to work at night, which is great. I try to give that flexibility into the course. But just know that if you run into issues, this is part of why I have Discord, so that there may be a possibility that somebody else, maybe also on Discord, may have done the assignment, can help you. So in your reply, do you understand the difference between my schedule and yours and how you can lean into getting help when they are different, which most likely they will be. Some of you may be early morning. I've already heard from a couple of you. All right. A little longer than normal, but there's a lot to talk about. We have a lot to do this week. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.